I am Miss Roz. Welcome to Cookie Decorating. I'm going to talk about a couple of different things with cookie decorating and demonstrate a few things so that you have a basis of how to decorate your cookies. However, feel free to use Google and YouTube and find some other examples and videos and demonstrations on how to do this. All right. I provided the recipe for the sugar cookies in the assignment. I also provide the recipe for the icing. I am not going to demonstrate how to make the cookies, but essentially what you do is you cream your butter and your sugars, right? And then once that is all creamed together and nice and fluffy, you add in your vanilla and your egg and mix that together so that it's nice and creamy. And then you're going to fold in any of your dry ingredients, your leavening agent, your flour, salt and things like that. You want to chill that cookie dough, and then once it's chilled, you can roll it out and everything will be good to go. You can use cookie cutters so you can have different designs or shapes. You could also just use like a cup and do circles. That's what I'm going to demonstrate today, is just using regular circles. Right? So in the demonstration, I am going to make the batter for you, or the icing with you, and then just talk a little about kind of the different consistencies of the icings. Okay. So first, you want to get some powdered sugar, right, or what we also refer to as confectioner sugar. In my recipe that I provided is 1 cup of confectioner sugar, and then it says like 2 to 4 teaspoons of some 2 to 4 teaspoons of some milk, or as I said, I suggest sometimes water. Milk, if you use milk, that means you have to refrigerate your cookies because you can't leave icing out that has milk in it. You can't leave out, right? So sometimes I'll just use the water instead, right? It also says that it's optional, but entirely up to you, to use some corn syrup. That corn syrup is what makes it nice and shiny, so if you like that shiny, glossy look, you can use corn syrup. If you like more that matte kind of look, you can use, you don't have to use the corn syrup, it's entirely up to you. Right? And then you're also going to have the option of using a little vanilla, or sometimes if it's a little too sweet, I will use almond extract to kind of help with that sweetness. So just keep in mind that if you're allergic to almonds or any kind of tree nuts and things like that, obviously don't use that, okay? So I have my cup of confectioner sugar in here, and then I just need, it says 2 to 4 teaspoons. So I'm going to start out with 2 teaspoons of water just to kind of see how the consistency looks first. All right, I can always add more water if I need to. All right, so I'm just going to mix this together, and it should all come together and start becoming more of a paste. Okay. Alright, so it looks like I definitely need to add a few more teaspoons, so I'm just going to add another teaspoon into here. Right. And work this as we go. Okay. Alright, and then add 1 more teaspoon. Alright. Alright, so it is a little thick, but I am going to add my extract, so that will help to thin it out, and also what will help thin it out is also your food coloring. So they do suggest you use gel as your food coloring, however that's not really a common type of food coloring people have. A lot of people just have more of the liquid one, so if you do have liquid food coloring, you want to it's going to affect the consistency of your of your icing, okay? So I'm going to put a 1/4 teaspoon of some vanilla, and like I said, I actually like to do half and half because I find sometimes with just vanilla it tends to be a little strong, a little too sweet for me. So I actually like the almond. So I'll do half and half of some vanilla and then some almond extract. Okay. So that, like I said, because it's a liquid, it's also going to affect the consistency. Now, if you're really into decorating and things like that, you may, depending, I don't know, like depending on your household, you may actually have what we call clear vanilla extract, which actually you can kind of see how it's a little tinted beige now because that vanilla extract is brown, right? So they do have clear vanilla extract for those who want that kind of very pure white icing. Okay, I'm gonna color my icing, so I'm not quite as worried. I will be using some white, but I'm not too worried about it. Okay, so all right, so I have my icing here, right? So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna divide this in half because I'm gonna actually make. I'm gonna want to keep some of it white, right? But then I also want to. I want to color some of it. So I'm going to put about half of it into one bowl. Okay, and then the other half is going to go in the other bowl. And I'm actually going to decorate mine pink. Right, so I'm going to just use a little extra of the red. Right, and at this point I'm going to use 2 different scrapers. Right, I'm actually just going to use 2 spoons to do this. Okay, just so that I don't mix my colors. So one of them I'm going to just keep kind of my whitish, but then I'm also going to add a little red to one because I just want it to be just a light pink. Okay, I don't want it to be super bright. So I'm just going to add 1 dot into it. Right, and see kind of how pink it comes out. And then I can add more if needed. Right, so this might actually be plenty in color. Okay, so that's definitely very bright, right? So I'm actually going to just leave it at that color. I don't want it any brighter than that because, like I said, I want it to be kind of on the pinkish side. All right. Now, depending on your family, you may or may not have a lot of decorating equipment, and that's perfectly okay. If you have the equipment, by all means, go ahead and use it, but it's not required, right? I actually don't have any piping bags with me, and what I actually use typically with piping bags is just a plastic Ziploc bag, okay? So what I do is I just put my right, I'm going to put just a little of this in because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pipe an outline first, and then I'm going to do what we call flooding, right? And I actually need this consistency a little, just a little wetter. So I'm going to just put enough in here to just pipe the lining, right? And I'm going to just put it into the corner of my bag. Okay, so maybe a spoonful or two of the icing. Right, so I'm just going to put a little more in just to make sure I have enough. Right, and now if you don't have any of the decorating equipment, that is perfectly fine. Right, because what I can do is I'm just going to literally snip just the very tip of this off. However, if you do have all the typing equipment like this, right, that's fantastic. So this is what we call a coupler, right? And then this is what we call, and then we have all kinds of different tips, right? Now, if you're going to use the coupler and the tip, right, I will show you how to use this. So you're going to unscrew this so that you have two pieces. The big piece goes on the inside, and what you will have to do is, if you you're going to have to cut a little around here, right, so that it comes out, right. So I'm just going to snip off the tip here, right, so that it comes out. And what will happen now is that I can put the tip on here, and then I can screw this all on together so that it's together like so. Right, and now I have, it's all ready to go. Like I said, if you have a decorating bag, awesome, go ahead and use it. If not, no worries, you can use the Ziploc bag as well. Right, so I'm also going to, because I'm going to line this as well, so I'm going to just put a little in here to line with. Right. Right, and then those two are ready to go. Right, so I'm going to put these to the side, and I'm going to grab my cookies. I'm just going to wash my hands real quick. All right. Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to line my cookies first, and this is going to help be able to keep all of my icing within my cookie. All right, so here are a couple of cookies that I have. All right, and so I'm going to take this, okay, the one that has the tip on it, and what happens is that you want to kind of squeeze all of that icing down into the bottom towards the tip. All right, and then I'm just going to squeeze all the way around because I want to line this, because I want to fill the inside of my cookie. So I'm just going to squeeze this all the way around the outside of my cookie, right, like so. Now, if I don't have the little that little part there, that's fine. What I'm going to actually do now is, like I said, you can just snip off the top, right, the tip of this. You want to snip just a very, very, very small portion because you don't want a huge hole there. So I'm just going to snip it off, right, because I want to just be able to line it, pipe it. And I'm going to pipe all the way around my cookie, like so. All right. So I have a bunch of cookies that I want to do this with. Okay, so all right, so let's do a couple more here just to show. Right, and so what happens is that when you do this, you're creating a barrier so that when you do the flooding, which means I'm going to fill the inside with icing, right, it doesn't it doesn't leak off of your cookie. Okay, so keep on just going all the way around it. Okay, so I'm going to do 4 there, and then let's do 4 more here. Okay, right, and so now what you can do is we can actually, what we're going to do with the remainder of that icing is we're actually going to make it just a little thinner, so that you can, what will end up happening is I'll be able to flood this in. Okay, so instead of a teaspoon, I'm just going to put like maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of water into here, just to thin it out a little more. I really want to be able to pour this in. Okay, And what I'm actually going to do is, I have that extra icing in here, so I'm going to actually, because I have a couple other ones that need to be iced here. I want to finish icing these with the higher consistency, with the thicker consistency before I change over. All right, so okay. All right, and now with the excess, if I have any extra, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to squeeze out any extra back into my icing, okay, so that I can still use the same bag and not have to dirty up another bag. Okay. Right, and then this is going to be now that nice kind of more liquidy consistency, right, so that I can do the flooding. Now, if you want to change the tip, take this off. Okay, you can screw this off, right? You can take the tip right off of here, right? And then I can actually put on a different tip, right? Especially if I'm going to flood this, right? I might want to have a larger tip to do this. I'm just trying to find my larger tip. Ah, here it is. All right, so I might want to find kind of like the bigger one. If you have, you can kind of play around with the different tips if you would like. Right, but now, right, I'm going to add all right, so all right, so just be careful because this is a little more liquid, right? It's going to come out of the tip a lot easier, right? So hold the tip up and then push out as much of that icing out, right? And now I can kind of squeeze out a little, right? And you can see how it's nice and liquidy, and so I can actually just fill in my circles that I've already made, right? And it looks like I'm going to need some more icing, which is fine. I can just make some more icing. But what will happen is that because this is nice and liquidy, right, I can kind of do this, what we call flooding, right? And so what happens is I can just take my spoon and kind of help move the icing around until it floods, right? And the reason you have that, we lined it first, was so that you have a barrier so that your icing doesn't go overboard, right? You can also use toothpicks to help move this around, whatever works best and easiest for you, right? So now I have an iced cookie. Now, if you want to add decoration so that it kind of melds in, mixes in with the color there, right? You want to do it while it's still wet. Okay, so this is when you would want, like if you wanted to do polka dots and things like that, or stripes, you want to do it when it's still wet. However, like writing and things like that, I would wait until it dries so that you can write on top of it and it doesn't mix in with your icing. Okay, so I'm just filling this in again. Right, so again, like I said, that barrier really helps you be able to not lose all of your icing down the sides of your cookie. Okay, so use your spoon, the back of your spoon, to help kind of spread this around. Right, if you need to add more, you might need to add a little more, which is fine. It's up to you. Right, and then you can kind of choose how you want to decorate it. Do you want to do a holiday theme? Do you want to do, it doesn't have to necessarily be holiday or Christmas themed. You could do whatever kind of theme you would like. It's entirely up to you, right? But it's going to take these a little while to set and dry, okay? So be sure to put this somewhere where you can kind of move this around, so that you can move it to a place where it's not in the way of everything, so that your parents and you can cook dinner and do other things in the kitchen, right? So maybe you put them on a cookie sheet or a cooling rack, just so that they're a little more transportable, right? And then you can kind of decorate them however you want. So if you have Christmas, if you have trees, you can decorate the trees. If you have hearts, you could decorate the hearts. Whatever you want to do, this decoration portion is entirely up to you, right? But anything that has a lot of detail, so if you want to do lines and writing and things like that, I would use the thicker consistency, so that it doesn't run, okay? The only reason we did less, or made it kind of more watery, was so that we could do this flooding portion in the inside to make it easier, okay? Right, so that's kind of the basis of it. You can kind of go with it and do whatever you would like with it. I hope that this was a little helpful. Like I said, use Google, YouTube, find other ways to do some decorating, but this was kind of the basics. All right, thanks so much. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I look forward to seeing you all in class. Thank you.